Avoidants don't hold back because they don't feel anything. They hold back because they feel too much, too fast, and they don't know how to carry the weight of those emotions without losing control. Most people think an avoidant is cold, detached, or uninterested, but the truth is far more complex, far more emotional, and far more hidden. Deep inside, an avoidant man carries a silent fear. If I let someone close, they will expect more from me than I can give. He knows he struggles with emotional availability. He knows closeness overwhelms him. And he knows that once he lets his guard down, once he steps into real intimacy, he won't be able to hide his vulnerabilities anymore. So he does what he's wired to do. He protects himself by pulling away first. It's not rejection, it's self-preservation. When he senses emotional intensity, he experiences it as pressure. Pressure turns into fear. Fear turns into distance. Distance makes him feel safe again. But here's the twist most people never see. The avoidant isn't afraid of you. He's afraid of being seen, truly, deeply, completely seen. Because behind his independence is a wound he has never healed. A childhood moment where closeness felt unsafe, unpredictable, or conditional. A memory that taught him love is dangerous when it gets too close. So the real reason avoidants hold back isn't lack of love. It's the terror of repeating a pain they never learned to express in words. Ironically, the more he cares, the more he retreats. The deeper the bond, the stronger the fear, and the harder he fights the pull he feels toward you. Avoidants don't hold back because they don't want connection. They hold back because connection is the very thing that scares them the most and the very thing their heart quietly craves. Avoidants don't notice you differently because you chase harder, give more, or prove your worth louder. In fact, those things push them deeper into retreat. An avoidant notices you differently when you give him something he never expects and rarely experiences. A presence that feels calm, self-contained, and completely free of emotional pressure. Understand this deeply. Avoidants are hyper-alert to anything that threatens their inner freedom. The moment they sense that your happiness depends on their responses, they disconnect. Not because they don't care, but because they panic at the thought of disappointing you or losing themselves. So what makes him see you differently than the rest? 1. You're emotionally centered. The woman an avoidant remembers is the one who doesn't crumble when he pulls away. The one who stays steady, grounded and secure within herself. He notices the difference instantly. She's not trying to grab me, she's inviting me. This feels safe to him, safe enough to stay near. 2. You allow space without taking it personally. Most people get anxious, clingy, or hurt when an avoidant retreats, but you don't translate distance as rejection. Your calm response makes him curious. Why isn't she panicking? Why isn't she chasing? Who is she? That curiosity becomes silent attraction. Avoidants notice people who give gently, who offer kindness without trying to control the emotional outcome. Your warmth feels like comfort, not responsibility. It feels like choice, not obligation. And that is rare for him. 4. You hold strong boundaries. Most avoidants are surrounded by people who tolerate their inconsistency. You don't. Not harshly, but clearly. Your boundaries signal self-respect, and self-respect is magnetic to someone who fears losing their autonomy. You mirror his pace and still shine. When you match his rhythm instead of forcing yours, he experiences something unfamiliar, peace. He sees a woman who understands without suffocating, who connects without demanding, who cares without collapsing. That's when he notices you differently, not as another person wanting something from him, but as someone he feels drawn toward, someone he trusts without knowing why. Someone who activates his attachment instead of triggering his defenses. When an avoidant notices you differently, it's not because you tried harder, it's because you became the one thing he never expected, a connection that feels safe enough to stay close and strong enough to pull him in. Most people think avoidant men attach because you look good, treat them well, or make them feel desired. But the real trigger, the one that reaches them on a level they don't talk about, is far quieter, deeper, and almost invisible. The silent trigger of emotional attachment is this: the moment he realizes he can breathe around you. Avoidants live with a constant internal tension. They're always scanning for expectation, pressure, emotional responsibility, anything that might trap them or expose their vulnerabilities. They are used to people wanting too much, too fast, too intensely. So when he meets someone whose energy feels light instead of heavy, peaceful instead of demanding, steady instead of anxious, his entire nervous system reacts differently. He doesn't analyze it, he feels it. It's the subtle shift where his guard lowers without him noticing, where he stops performing and starts existing, where he realizes, almost in shock, I don't feel overwhelmed around her. This moment is rare for him and unforgettable. The silent trigger isn't about chasing, pleasing, or proving. It's about creating an emotional space where he feels unjudged, unpressured, unneeded, yet deeply valued. A space where he doesn't fear disappointing you because you don't make his behavior responsible for your emotional stability. That's when attachment begins, not with fireworks, but with ease, not with intensity, but with comfort, not with dramatic emotions, but with a sense of safety he didn't know he craved. Avoidants don't attach through force, they attach through freedom, and the person who gives them that freedom, quietly, naturally, without strategy, becomes the one they cannot replace, forget, or detach from. That is the silent trigger, peace that feels like connection, and connection that feels like home. Avoidant men rarely commit their focus to one person, not because they're players, but because keeping options gives them a sense of control, distance, and emotional safety. But something unexpected happens when he meets you, something that makes the other options quietly fade into the background. He stops considering others when he realizes that being around you doesn't cost him his freedom, identity, or emotional balance. Most people push, demand, or subtly pressure him to be more. You don't. And that difference is powerful. You become the one person who doesn't drain him, the one he doesn't have to impress, the one who isn't waiting for him to fill some emotional void. He feels lighter with you, and that feeling is addictive. This is where the shift begins. He starts comparing how he feels with you versus how he feels with everyone else. With others, he feels tension. With you, he feels relief. With others, he feels expectations. With you, he feels choice. With others, he feels watched. With you, he feels understood. Slowly, without realizing it, he starts investing more attention, more presence, and more emotion into you, not out of obligation, but out of comfort. The other options lose their shine because they require more emotional labor than he's willing to give. You offer something those options don't, a connection that doesn't suffocate him, and a warmth that doesn't control him. This is the moment an avoidant man becomes quietly loyal, not because you forced him, but because you became the only place where his heart feels safe enough to rest. He stops looking around because for the first time, he feels like he's already found what he didn't know he was searching for. Avoidant men don't fall for drama, intensity, or emotional pressure. They don't get hooked by perfection, beauty, or how available someone is. The one behavior he can't resist, the one that pulls him in even when he tries to stay guarded, is this: a woman who moves with emotional independence. Independence isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about showing him through your energy that you are whole on your own, that your world doesn't collapse when he takes space, that your self-worth doesn't rise or fall based on his responses, that you are connected but not consumed. This is magnetic to an avoidant man. Why? Because independence feels like safety to him. It tells him he won't be swallowed, controlled, or expected to carry someone else's emotional weight. It signals that you are choosing him, not clinging to him. When you're emotionally independent, you communicate something he isn't used to. I want you, but I don't need you to breathe. This melts his fear. This disarms his defenses. This creates desire in a way nothing else can. He notices that you don't rush him. You don't panic when he retreats. You don't interpret space as rejection. You stay steady, centered, and grounded in your own life. And that steadiness becomes irresistible, because deep down, avoidants crave closeness, but they are terrified of losing themselves in it. You show him he doesn't have to. With you, love doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like choice. It feels like breath. It feels like peace. That's the one behavior he can't resist. A woman who remains soft, warm, connected, yet completely anchored in herself. It's rare, it's powerful, and it's the very thing that makes an avoidant man attach without even realizing he's doing it. Emotional connection doesn't disappear overnight. It fades because of subtle mistakes, quiet, unintentional behaviors that push an avoidant man back into his shell without you ever realizing what happened. And the heartbreaking part, these mistakes come from caring too much, not caring too little. One needing constant reassurance. When your emotions get louder than his comfort zone, he doesn't hear love, he hears pressure. Avoidants fear emotional responsibility more than emotional distance. Every time you ask, "Are we okay?" he feels like he's being tested rather than understood. Slowly, it drains the connection. 2. Over-explaining your feelings. You do it because you want to be clear, but he experiences it as emotional overload. Avoidants shut down when words pile up faster than they can process. A simple feeling becomes a heavy emotional assignment, one he feels unprepared to handle. 3. Filling every silence. Silence to him is oxygen. Silence to you might feel like distance, but when you rush to fill the quiet, he feels smothered, like there's no room for him to breathe or settle into the moment. He begins to withdraw to reclaim emotional space. 4. Making his space about you. When he pulls back, you assume it's personal. It's not. It's his internal reset button. But if you respond with panic, chasing, or emotional reactions, he feels punished for needing space. And that kills trust instantly. 5. Trying to fix him. Even good intentions can wound an avoidant. Fixing him feels like control. Understanding him feels like freedom. One makes him run. The other makes him stay. Avoidants don't lose connection because you're not enough. They lose connection when emotional pressure becomes louder than emotional peace. The secret isn't to do more. It's to create a space where he feels safe, not evaluated, welcome, not overwhelmed, and connected, not cornered. Becoming a safe place for an avoidant man doesn't mean shrinking yourself, overgiving, or bending your boundaries. It means creating an emotional atmosphere where he feels free to step toward you, instead of feeling pushed, pulled, or pressured to show up. The secret lies in one simple shift. You make closeness feel like comfort, not responsibility. Avoidants don't run from intimacy. They run from the weight they believe intimacy brings. So when your energy says, "You can come close and I'm still whole," something inside him relaxes in a way he rarely experiences. 1. Become the calm in his internal storm. He's used to emotional intensity, fear of expectations, and people demanding more than he can give. Your calm presence becomes a contrast he cannot ignore. You're not chasing, you're simply grounded, and grounded people feel safe. A safe place doesn't mean a place without rules. It means a place where the rules feel respectful, mutual, and steady. When your boundaries are clear but not harsh, he learns, "I can trust her. She's consistent." Consistency is safety to an avoidant. 3. Give space the right meaning. When he retreats, you don't panic, you don't explode, you don't chase. Your steady acceptance tells him his space isn't a threat to the connection. This teaches him he can breathe near you without losing you. 4. Stay emotionally self-fed. Your life, hobbies, friendships, and confidence create a magnetic aura. You're not waiting for him to complete you, and that takes the pressure off him instantly. It also makes him admire you more than he expected. A safe place isn't built by proximity, it's built by emotional tone. When you stay warm, self-contained, and unpressured, he begins to associate you with something priceless to him, peace. And a man, especially an avoidant one, always returns to the place where his heart can finally breathe. When an avoidant chooses you forever, it doesn't look like a sudden grand confession. It looks like a series of quiet shifts, small, subtle, deeply meaningful changes that reveal what his words rarely can. Avoidants don't choose lightly. They choose slowly, intentionally, cautiously. And when they finally choose, it's because something inside them has shifted from fear to trust, from self-protection to emotional courage. The moment he chooses you forever begins when he realizes this simple truth. She doesn't threaten my freedom, she strengthens it. With you, love stops feeling like a cage and starts feeling like support. Closeness stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like peace. Commitment stops feeling like surrender and starts feeling like partnership. This is where the transformation happens. He lets you into the spaces he once guarded, not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. You notice it in the way he shares more, hides less, and begins to rely on your presence instead of retreating from it. He stops running from connection. Instead of distancing himself, he leans in. Instead of shutting down, he communicates. Instead of fearing your expectations, he starts imagining a future where he can meet them. He chooses you because you became the exception, not because you chased him, but because you understood him. Not because you demanded commitment, but because you created an emotional home he didn't want to leave. When an avoidant chooses forever, it's not impulsive. It's a quiet vow. You are the one place I don't have to protect myself from. And for a man who spent his life guarding his heart, choosing you forever is the bravest, deepest love he's ever given.